I want to talk about one of the topics that I have written down here, and it's sort of finding your way in the community. Again, folks who are just joining, Mark is going to be on the WP Minute podcast, WP Minute Plus podcast, which airs not today, next Monday, with his interview. And again, sort of really interested in his point of view in WordPress, having come in, back in 2018, which is still a considerable amount of time, but still finding your way around like the core WordPress community, right? So literally going into the WordPress.org Slack recently, right? Since the last time.
Very recently, per your recommendation, yeah.
Yeah, since we had the conversation. I've always seen you, I don't know if I've said this to you, but I've always seen you look at WordPress, and this might not be a fair statement, so you can correct me, but I've always seen you look at WordPress as almost like a product. Like you expect WordPress to operate like a Quickly, like a Bricks. Like we have a product, we're trying to satisfy our customers, and we're trying to ship features to satisfy those customers. Unfortunately, WordPress doesn't work that way. It's much more like local government, for lack of a better phrase. Like you want it to be good, but it just takes forever for anything like good to happen. But it's ours, and it's a shared community kind of thing. Is that a fair statement for me to say, like, you kind of looked at WordPress as like, why don't they ship this? This is a product. Do you have feelings on the iteration process of WordPress? Like, why isn't this getting better, faster than the competition?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree. I mean, yeah, to expand on the community part of it, I'm obviously very new to the actual community of WordPress. Been using it for a while, but I got into it because I was just like, oh, use WordPress at the time in 2018, and ended up being a great decision. But like you said, came in through Elementor and all that, so didn't know there was a Slack group until you told me, or I saw it on Twitter or something like that. Didn't know that you could actually be a part of Make WordPress and kind of get in there and do all that sort of stuff. So in exploring that, I think I had a recent live stream where I kind of just went through and kind of gave some thoughts on it. Most of the stuff that the opinions that I have are fresh. Like they're not like seasoned. I haven't been diving in there. I've tried to navigate the Slack and everything like that. But I would say that it's a fair assessment to say that I kind of see WordPress as a product, and maybe it's not. Maybe that's a false way of thinking about it. I think that's just the way that I'm wired, because I feel like even if it's a project and not a product, I still feel like there's a lot of people, whether or not they're running agencies or not, that I feel like if I was at the head of a project like that, I would still feel like I'm powering so much of the internet that I'd want to somehow, and I know the capacity or the scale that we're talking about is large. There's a lot of moving pieces. It's more than just all the stuff we normally talk about. Like you said, it's not just the block editor. It's like all these other pieces of the CMS in general. But I just feel like if we can continue to kind of refine that in a way of processes, structures, or whatever, and I'm sure that they're already in place, I just might be speaking from ignorance and not know them. But if I can't see them and I'm kind of like I'm getting into the community, then I feel like there's no hope for people that like are really on the cusp of it and just getting into WordPress. And like, how do I like this Gutenberg thing? Like I have a weird idea like for it or something. I think it could be better. And just like a hobbyist, how do I even start to get into that? There's meetups that I just feel like I think you might've said this on our pod or something like that. It's a kind of a web of all different stuff that's happening. There's not really like any tiers, or I don't know. I mean, there's a lot going on. It's a big project. There's a lot going on. And I feel like if we got more to a product mentality, it would be a little different, but I'm not sure if that would be better or worse. So I don't know. Yeah. Just talking.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly one of those things where, again, I've said this before, it's harsh criticism about the way WordPress works. Like obviously, hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion. They can say whatever they want to say about how they feel about WordPress. The challenge for me is when there's like direct criticism, like harsh criticism, like out of line criticism to the way WordPress works, but that like you also sell or have an agency on WordPress, either sell a product that runs on top of WordPress, or you're a freelancer consultant agency owner and you're running on WordPress. Like, why would you be so against supporting literally the foundation of what you stand on? Is the stuff that drives me nuts. But it is a massive project, and even stuff that I don't even pretend to understand. But it's again, you look at City Hall, and floor 3, they're making the block editor. Floor 6, they're working on the site editor. Right? It's just, wait a minute, shouldn't you two like all be on the same floor together? No. And largely the comms issue, the communication issue, and it's a hell of a lot better these days than it was, in the past. But it's that lack of commercial approach. There's a lot of camps out there that say, hey, this is just like an automatic endeavor, because largely they're the largest, commercial contributor to WordPress. It lacks that commercial approach, for better or worse, right? There's no marketing team, research team. What are we doing for the customer? How are we getting that into the funnel? How are we shipping this? It's not that. It is a bunch of people spread across the world coming together on a project to help people publish content, whatever it is. Not just a business, but about their book, about their life, in a private journal that nobody logs into. Like it is literally this thing that helps people publish content. And the goal isn't just how do we make this thing for agencies so that their customers can do things online. It goes well beyond that. And it is a sprawling team. There's no one place to just get started. I wish there was. I mean, they're getting towards it a little bit. And I'm open, anyone listening, watching later on, to comment and say, this is the best place to start. You go to a WordCamp. You can go to a WordCamp contributor day where you can just show up and be like, I want to contribute to WordPress. And they'll be like, here, spell check this WordPress document or help doc. That's where you can start. This is it. This is how I can contribute back. Yes, we need people to read documents, write documents, organize documents, tag documents. There's a million ways to contribute to WordPress. That's not just, I'm a React developer. How do I get started building blocks, for the team? And it comes with its challenges, but it is something that I think folks should appreciate because, again, I've said this before, you're not showing up to Apple or Google and having those discussions, right? I don't like where these icons are on my phone. I don't like how you store this data. It's not going to happen at these closed source commercial entities. And WordPress, in my opinion, is so important to the web that we should appreciate the fact that we have, a bit of a claim for this, which gets people into trouble because we all feel like there's this ownership to WordPress. Like we all feel a part of it, but that can also get you into trouble because not one person owns it. I'm really starting to believe it's more of a spiritual thing. This WordPress, this thing is like, it exists. It's there. No one really owns it. Not even, Automatic to a degree, although I'm sure people would, say otherwise, but it's an interesting space. And I think I would love, as much as I want WordPress to be for the average user, I'd love it if it could get to a level where it just stopped. And then Bricks came in, and then Elementor came in and expanded upon it. Because I don't know how you solve building a website for everyone. And I think it should get us the structure and then bring in the third-party tools to enhance it. It's how I would like to see it. And I think it will still continue to exist that way for many years, but I don't know. I don't know at what point they stop with that kind of production.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're in the WordPress space and you're not rooting for the improvement of core, then I think you're literally just trying to destroy the foundation that you're literally standing on. So it's just logically unsound. I don't think there's many people in that camp, but I just don't think that makes any sense. If we get past that, though, the biggest criticisms that I've heard. Well, first of all, again, if you're criticizing and you're not trying to also contribute or just at least talk to have conversations with people that are closer. Like, for instance, I got to shout out I think they're called hallway hangouts that I just found out about last month or whatever with Ann McCarthy, I think. And it was awesome. I didn't catch it. I want to get in the next one, but I saw it on replay and it was just like people talking, literally people like doing stuff in WordPress, talking about kind of the situations, the ideas, the feedback they had. If you're not in those conversations and you're criticizing, that's tough there too, because you don't want to just be the person that's complaining. You want to try to either have a solution and all that. There's different levels of all of that. But specifically with like when it comes to WordPress and what you just said about the building a website for everyone, I think that's probably, if you had to boil it down to one thing, that's kind of like the main weirdness is like, that would be awesome, but is that possible? And hopefully everyone that makes that critique is proven wrong, and somehow, you know, the team decides and figures out a way to make a website for everyone. I could see one path would be that, like you said, the core editor is really, really easy for any random person off the street to use. But if they get in there and then they get stuck, then they could reach out to a secondary person like an agency owner or somebody that has more experience, and then they can layer on top of that. The only thing I would say is by that time, that install of WordPress might be so like weird, because that's just how WordPress installs get when you don't have a good stack, that, you know, I was just in one the other day. I can barely even diagnose problems because this is a Bricks website and I don't know what's going on with this website. You know what I mean? So, but again, to the core thing, I'm rooting for it. I hope it continues. If there's anything that I can do to kind of contribute and provide feedback without just like kind of screaming into the void and complaining, I'm 100% down to do that. But it'll be interesting to see how it continues to evolve. And I just hope it continues to trend upward. Cause like I said, going back to it, we're all in the WordPress boat together, and hopefully we're rowing in the same direction, but there's other boats behind us, you know, trying to catch up and get past. And I think that just from a usability standpoint, a continual life standpoint, that I'd like to see WordPress continue to be whatever that big stat is, 40%, 50%. Like I'd like to see it go up. So we'll see.
We will see. We will see in